Shalom. I want to begin this lesson by giving all praise, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rahak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who have taught us all this truth in the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. I'm Shaquat, and I am back here with another lesson. Lord willing, it be edifying to the hopeful elect. Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Barak Atham. To you, sincere Akyam Wagwathim, and a sincere Shalom to you, brothers out here pushing this truth out on the highways and the byways and through the YouTube blessings, man. Shalom unto you all. Adawan Ratazah, this be edifying and exhorting to the elect out there listening and learning. So Adawan Ratazah, it won't be too long, but it's going to be another news report here through the spirit. You know, I have a few articles on Newsbreak that I want to go into that I didn't go into a few videos ago, and I want to go into a post on Instagram as well. All right, so hey man, different articles, same precepts. This is what's going on, right? So I want to start by saying this video will be orchestrated and conducted under the Fair Use, under the statute, the Fair Use Copyrights Act of 1976, where all public information can be used for the purposes of education, teaching, criticism, news reporting, and research. This video will not be monetized. All right, so we're gonna get into it. Let's go start with this first article. So we'll just start with this article. So it says the global oil crisis is turning into an everything crisis. All right, the global oil crisis is turning into an everything crisis, and that's facts. All right, because when gas go up, everything goes up. But I was just watching the Elder. It's lucky I was just watching the Elder Malcolm's video about an hour ago. He was talking about how America is very rich in oil, so this whole oil prices going up thing shouldn't even be happening, because America is indeed very rich in oil. It actually states it in Genesis 27, where Isaac gave Esau the blessing of the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven. A part of that blessing, when you go into that word fatness, it goes back into oil. So America is rich in oil, very rich. You know, extremely rich in oil. Hold on. Anyway, they're extremely rich in oil, yet you have Esau, you know, allowing the gas price to go up. But you know, as the saying goes, you can't let a good crisis go to waste. Never let a good crisis go to waste, man. You know, and that's exactly what these devils are doing. They're just capitalizing off a perfect crisis. You never let a good crisis go to waste. All right, never let a good crisis go to waste. So they're just capitalizing off what's going on so they can bring in this reset. You know, they're purposefully, all right, crashing this economy. It's being manufactured. This is being purposefully conducted. All right, why? So they can establish the new world order, the new system, which will be where everybody will be chipped up, RFID, CHIP'd up. You know, everybody. You understand? Everybody will have the MOTB. All right. So, yeah, anyway, so without further ado, we'll probably read a paragraph or two. It says, 1 month into the war in Iran, a growing shortage of crude oil is threatening to morph into something worse, a shortage of nearly everything. The conflict in the Middle East has crimped oil and natural gas flows through the Strait of Hormuz. And Trump just made a post on social media But this nigga's crazy, man. This nigga just made a post on social media, speaking about the Strait of Hormuz. This nigga just made a post on social media saying, I'm gonna just roughly paraphrase what the nigga said. I don't remember. He said a lot. He said, basically, Iran opened the fucking strait. He said fucking, yes, open the fucking strait right now. Y'all are gonna just be living in hell if you don't open the fucking strait. Open the fucking strait. And he said, praise be to Allah. Bro, this nigga crazy, man. What, bro, you cannot, like, there's certain shit you just can't do as a president, man. Like, nigga, this nigga is crazy. That shit, hey, man, we love it, man. You know, we love it. You know, this is a beautiful thing, man. This dude is definitely Isaiah, the 19th chapter, in the 3rd verse. He's definitely the cruel Lord. He has to be. All right? So, it says, let's see. The disruption has not only sent fuel prices soaring, but has squeezed supplies of petrochemicals needed to make everyday items like shoes, clothing, and plastic bags. The strain is now spreading into every corner of the consumer market as prices rise for materials like plastic, rubber, and polyester. The impact is so far most evident in Asia, which accounts for more than half of the world's manufacturing and is heavily reliant on imports for oil and other commodities. Right? And it gets into all the other places that, all the places that's going through it and shit. But, yeah, it's affecting everything, which we knew that was going to happen. That's how it works. Right? Let's read this. Panic buying causes gas shortages in Trump's own backyard. President Donald Trump's Iran war is causing a frenzy in his own community. Some gas stations in South Florida reported temporary gasoline shortages as supply chain disruptions and surge in demand, partly driven by panic buying, empty tanks on Thursday. We have had some interruptions because demand is very high. And it says the company is basically the biggest problem is that the demand is up and transportation is limited. Drivers are only allowed to drive so many hours. That plus it takes time. The time it takes. All right. For example, to take gasoline from Port Everglades to the Keys, it takes 24 hours to send one load of gasoline, he explained. And then, it gets further and further into it, man. Now, everything is suffering at the end of the day, man. Everything is suffering. And you also do have some people panic buying. You're going to have people stocking up on gasoline. I'm sure there's that shit going on. Even if a motherfucker may not need a certain item, they hear that it's going to become scarce. Or something's happening with it, Salakia. They start to go in on it and try to, stock up on that shit. I forgot what the saying or the word is for that. But, hey, man, there you go. Listen, man. These people are going to panic. This is going to send people into a panic, a great panic. Why? Because this is bringing famine and great death. All right, we're in the midst of the black and the pale horse that is noted in Revelation 6 right now, which Lord willing, we're going to grab that. We're in between the black horse and the pale horse. The black horse represents famine, all right, and inflation and all those things. The pale horse, all right, represents death and destruction. All right, and this is all of what we're witnessing right now in this day and age. The Wadi Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai prophecy is alive. Prophecy is alive, man. All right, give me a moment here. I'm from the park. right? Prophecy is alive. So, let's see what else I here. So you got this. We're gonna watch that video in a second. So, no, let's watch it now.
Next up here at 5, it's the issue that hits you every time you drive.
Soaring diesel prices impacting truckers, driving up grocery costs. All right. Now, why are the grocery costs getting driven up? Because truckers, because diesel. Why is the diesel price increasing? All right. Affecting grocery prices. Well, because as these diesel prices increase, because the crude oil and all that is going up. Also they're putting ethanol 15 in all the gas and shit. But anyway, because with the increase in the diesel price, right, what happens? How does this impact truck drivers? Well, because truck drivers, if you didn't know, they typically pay for their own gas, but they're compensated within their pay. So if they already pay for their own gas, but they're compensated within their pay, that means if the price is going up for diesel, it's going to make them hard. It's going to make it harder for them to get around because the gas is going to cost more. So now they're going to be demanding more money because truckers are very important to society. If you don't have truckers, the society, like a modern day society, is going to collapse. In the ancient world, there are ways to deal. You don't need no fucking semis in the ancient world. But in the modern day society, it's going to collapse the way society is built now. Because you have things that are sent to the ports. And then from the ports, how do you get the goods, whether food, whatever, from the ports? You need truckers to take the goods from the ports to the warehouses. And then you need truckers again to take the goods from the warehouses to the different stores and restaurants and things of that sort. You need truckers. All right, they're very well needed in this society. No truckers equals a failed society, man, a fallen society, completely, a collapsed society. So with these diesel prices going up, and what I already explained, now they're demanding more money, but you're going to see that eventually they're not going to get the money they're demanding. They're not going to get the money they're demanding, but they're going to go up a little bit right now, which is why the grocery prices are increasing to compensate the truck drivers. All right. But it goes deeper into that as well. It's even deeper than that. That's just really surface level. So, Salaki, I hope I didn't use too many words. I hope I didn't confuse you all. But anyway, let's play the video.
By the gas station, did you see those prices today? $4.29 a gallon in Tampa.
And let's take a wide look now. The national average has surpassed $4 per gallon for the first time since 2022. Here in Florida, prices are even higher. The average cost for a gallon of gas is $4.12. That's $1.20 higher than just 1 month ago today.
Taking an even closer look now, the Tampa Bay area is seeing even higher prices. You can see all of those counties there along the Gulf Coast in red. Most pricing around $4.18 or $4.19, but reaching as high as the $4.20s in Sarasota County and here in Tampa. Diesel prices even higher than that. Tampa Bay 28 reporter Rebecca Petit covers Lakeland and Polk County for us, and today she went out to talk with truck drivers about the climbing fuel costs.
Lindsay Smith has spent more than 3 decades hauling freight across America's highways, but says rising diesel prices are making it harder to stay on the road.
Pretty bad if it gets any higher.
Independent truckers like Smith are feeling the strain the most since they rely on brokers for work and must cover fuel costs out of pocket.
In the long run, it's kind of going to hurt you because it's so way too high, it's so overwhelming. And it's going to affect it's already affecting the food prices in the stores and, tires, brakes, oil changes.
As of Tuesday, GasBuddy reports Florida's average diesel price has climbed to $5.73 per gallon.
No, it is a record high. Actually, just surpassed today. Florida has now set a new all-time record high for the price of diesel at $5.73 a gallon.
Patrick DeHaan, head of petroleum analysis at GasBuddy, tells me because diesel fuels the supply chain, a sharp increase in fuel prices drives up transportation costs for wholesalers. Those higher costs are often passed down the line, with the retailers raising prices for consumers at the checkout.
These fruits and vegetables and meat are moving very quickly through the supply chain with very little margin for error. So those types of products are more beholden to the price of diesel and are likely to be impacted first.
Dahan tells me the rising cost of diesel could soon impact nearly every part of daily life.
The war on Iran now entering its fourth week. This is still somewhat short-lived. We don't know how long it will continue, but if it does continue for another month or two, virtually everything that you buy would likely be impacted in some way.
Experts say if diesel prices don't ease up soon, consumers could see higher prices and even possible shortages in the coming weeks. In Polk City, I'm Rebecca Petite, Tampa Bay 28.
Next up here at 5, it's the issue that hits you every time you drive.
Through, man. This place is done. Let's go to 2nd Ezra, the 6th chapter. You know where we're going, man. All right, let's go to 2nd Ezra, chapter 6, and we'll start at verse 22. All right, and it reads, "And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown." Now these sown places are what? Your farmlands and things of that sort. They're appearing unsown. Not only that, you have your ports. All right, your ports, because America is having, like the situation in the Strait of Hormuz. So they're not getting, certain items, certain essential items at the ports. You know what I'm saying? And if they are, it's going to cost a lot because of tariffs. So therefore, that automatically increases the price for the American consumer, right? So that's going into your farmlands, your ports, all of that, right? And what else is this going into? Well, it's also going into your storehouses and things of that sort. Everything is manufactured, is being manufacturally turned scarce. All right, everything is manufacturally, if I'm using that word right, if I'm saying it right, being made scarce, man. All right, it says the full storehouses, so your warehouses, and not only your warehouses, your stores and your restaurants, etc., shall suddenly be found empty. Now, what can be a major thing that would do this? Well, your lack of truckers. As prices continue to increase, which it doesn't look like it's going to decrease anytime soon in Ottawa and Ratazai. It doesn't. Yeah, it's hurting our pockets, but shit, we need to see. The destruction has to come one way or another, right? But, luck, yeah. With these prices soaring so high, these diesel prices and things of that sort, eventually the truckers aren't going to get what they're demanding. Meaning they're going to what? Just stop going. They're going to stop driving. You're not paying me to compensate for this. You're not compensating me with these increasing prices. Well, I'm not going to drive. So if there is no truckers, everything's going to be left empty because, like I say, you need truckers to get the items from the port, if it even comes to the port. Then you need truckers to get the items and take it to the actual storehouses and restaurants and all of those things. If you have no truckers, you have nothing in a society like this. All right. So it says, what will that bring? What would that cause? Well, it will cause famine. And you will see, we're going to get into it. And the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. So men are going to be afraid. When you go to 2nd Ezra 15 and 18, men are going to be afraid. Or is it 17? Regardless, men are going to be afraid. When you go to 2nd Ezra 16, men are going to be afraid. Hide behind bushes. Men are going to be afraid. When you go to Jeremiah 30, men are going to be afraid. All faces turn pale, and this goes back into fear. Yeah, this is the time we're in, man. All right, so let's keep going. It says, at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies. So this is going to cause civil unrest, and this is going to cause even turmoil between those who were once close. All right, you thought because Johnny, had you over for dinner, had you and the fam over for dinner, and had y'all over for Super Bowl Sunday, you think y'all are all good. But when shit hits the fan and Johnny don't got no food to provide for his family, well, guess where he's going to come? He's going to come knocking on your shit. And if you won't answer, he's going to kick your shit down and take it. Right? And kill you in the process. So these are the times that we're coming into. It says, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountains shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. All right, so there you go. And when we go over here to 2nd Esdras, the 15th chapter, I want to jump down here to the point. Let's see. I just want to go to the point. Reading all of this is beautiful, though. But where do I want to go? 2nd Esdras 15 and 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hand. For there shall be sedition among men. What is sedition? An uproar, all right, among men. So people are going to stand with swords fighting one another, man. What's the modern day sword? A gun. A lot of civil unrest is going to take place. Bushwick, Civil War, Homestead, right? Even to an extent, leave the world behind, and etc. The Purge. So let's keep going. For there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. So people are going to be invading one another. Why? Because they don't have no food. They don't got no food. It said, and all this thing is, this is a manufactured famine that is being conducted here. All right. It says, and not just a famine of food and thirst for water, but also hearing the words of the Lord. A famine of gas, a famine of everything is coming to America. Because America is being stripping. As you read earlier, if you read earlier, further up in this chapter, all right, it talks about the plagues that the Lord is drawing nigh to Egypt, all right, which is America, right? So it says, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, all right, their kings nor princes. Who is that? Your presidents, your governors, your vice presidents, your secretary of wars, your governors, mayors, your police officers, military people, all that. They're not going to be regarded. You know what I'm saying? It says, in the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So there's going to be more so in this time, power to the people. It's going to be power to the people at that point. All right? It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For you're going to have checkpoints. You're going to have certain checkpoints, 15-minute cities. We ain't forgot about that. These things are going to be taking place, indeed. Not only that, you're going to have, what else will you have in that day? All right. You can't, well, what's happening now? The gas prices soaring. People aren't going to be able to even afford to leave the cities and go to a different one. You know? You have this whole situation, because this not being talked about much anymore since last week, or about 2 weeks ago. But with the TSA situation, bringing in ICE into the airports, people aren't traveling. People aren't going to want to travel anymore because of that, you know, and they may even be unable because of the ICE agents, right? So these things are coming to pass. We're seeing prophecy fully play out here in front of our very eyes. The water Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. And the vision is set for an appointed time, though it tarry wayfarer, for if it surely come, it will not tarry. That's Habakkuk 2 and 3. It says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. Oh, Salakia, it says, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Men are going to be afraid, right? It says, a man shall desire, Salakia, shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword. And you read that up, you know, that was up here as well. You know, they're going to come in, you're going to get pillaged by Johnny, man. You thought y'all were all good. Johnny going to come pillage you. All right? So it says, let's read that again. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and rape their wives, and take all their goods. It says, because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So these things are going to happen because of the lack of bread and great tribulation. These things are only going to get worse, man. Things are going to, as Apostle Hart said, things are going to get worse before it get worse. Not get better before it get better. It's going to get worse before it gets worse. Before it gets worse, then it's going to get better. Right? But things have to get very bad. All right? But things are still, given all the circumstances of the world right now today, things are still business as usual. People still here at the stores. I'm outside of an Aldi. People still running in and out of Aldi grabbing things. People still driving. People still going to the gym. People still, business as usual, right? But pretty soon there's going to come a time where it ain't going to be no business as usual no more. It's just going to be straight hell, calamity, and bloodshed. So Trump is already talking about, y'all going to live in hell to the Iranians. No, y'all, this place is going to live in hell. Hell coming here, man. This is already like a third world fucking country out this bitch, especially with the certain crimes that are taking place now. This is basically a third world country. I don't care where you go in America. I don't care if you go to Vegas. This is basically a third world country at this point in time. And it's only going to get worse. Adawan Ratazah. Right, so let's go over here back to this news. Discourse. Well, before we get to that one, I want to go over here to Instagram and show you something. There's something else. It's a quick hit. So, says a pound of ground beef now costs more than the federal minimum wage. Is this prophecy or what? My God. For the first time in modern history, a single pound of ground beef now costs more than what millions of Americans earn in 1 hour at the federal minimum wage, which is about $7 and some cent. It says, what once fed a family for days can now barely be covered by a full hour of labor. Oh. Well, you know where I'm going. Where I'm going with it. Revelation 6. We're in between the black and the pale horse. So here's the third seal, famine. Let's read at verse 5. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, meaning a denarius, a day's wage. Now ground beef, a pound of ground beef costs more than the national minimum wage, which people are still being paid that today, by the way. In 3 measures of barley, which is some also like a simple necessity, something that should be simple. All right. I wonder how much that shit cost. She came out with a cart full of shit. I wonder how much that shit cost. She looked at that receipt like it broke her pocket. I know it did. We threw out this motherfucker. It say, in 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. So inflation, man, which will lead to famine, hyperinflation that will lead to famine. A pound of ground beef, well, I ain't going back to it, but a pound of ground beef now is more than the national minimum wage. On no way, shape, or form should that be possible. So expect things to get worse and worse and worse. Prophecy is playing out right before our eyes, man. Do you see it? Can you feel it? Boogie, woogie, woogie. But let me stop fucking off. All right, now look at this. Hiring just hit a level not seen since the economy was closed down, literally during the C-19. Top economist says Americans aren't getting laid off, and they're not quitting. They're simply just not getting hired. And the numbers haven't been this bad since the Pent closed the economy by force. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported Tuesday the hiring rate fell to 3.1% in February, which they thought it was going to take a hike. I remember doing a lesson about that. They thought it was going to increase in February, but it did the exact opposite. All right. It says with just 4.8 million hires, the lowest since, which they even then that number's blowed up. All right. They inflated that number. It says the lowest since April 2020. Job openings dropped to 6.9 million, lower than that, down 358,000 from January. The quits rate held at a low 1.9%, while layoffs also stayed pinned at 1.1%. All that cap. It says, and rates are even, especially that layoff rate is higher. You know, but Esau gonna do what he do with his statistics, right? It's lucky he gonna do what he do with him. It says, and retirements fell back near record lows. All right, because they keep pushing back the retirement age, and even people who have went into retirement, they're having to come out of retirement because, I mean, shit just costs too much. They can't live off whatever they're getting from those retirement checks. So they even coming out of retirement to go back and work. You know, you see people 80 plus years old fucking still working. Like, man, you need to go sit your ass down, but they can't. They can't. They literally working to their deathbed. That's ass. This place gotta go. Everyone, it seems, is staying put, whether in their jobs or in unemployment. It is a brutal job market. Very brutal. Very brutal. All right. Shit's bad. Shit's pretty bad. So, you know, this is not a surprise. You know, once again, this is more prophecy. I'm not going to read no more of that article, but this is more prophecy. When you jump down here to Isaiah 19 and verse 14, all right, it says, the Lord hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. Neither shall there be any work for Egypt, it's talking about America, which the head or tail, branch or rush may do. So now there's no more work in Egypt. People are just shit out of luck. No more work. You know, and that also goes back into here, Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter. I'm going to jump to the point in verse 3. All right, it says, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. So the grinders are ceasing because there are few job openings, nobody hiring, you know, you're being laid off. So the workers are being made few. I brought out an article like a few months ago, probably in February or so, that there is officially, you know, more unemployed people than there is available jobs. Crazy work, right? Crazy work. You know, so this shit is only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. That's it. It's only going to get worse. All right? So they are few. So the grinding is ceasing, man. That's it and that's all. And if you can't work, that means you can't survive. You can't pay your bills. You can't pay the cost of living and none of that stuff. So what's going to end up happening? You're going to have people doing what we read in 2nd Esdras 6 and in 2nd Esdras 15. They're going to just start taking from niggas because they don't have a choice, because they can't get it because nobody's hiring. So these are going to start taking, ravaging things, rummaging through things. That's what's going to start taking place. Not by choice, but by force, because they don't have no other choices but to do that to survive. Right? When you go here, back in 15, when you go to verse 13, it says, they that till the ground shall mourn. Really talking about your farmers, but you could also equate this, to your working class, because the most of America is working class or poor, working for pennies on a dollar. It says, for their seed shall fail through the blasting and hail and with a fearful constellation. So all these things is prophecy, man. We're just seeing prophecy play out right before our eyes, man. All right, so anyway, with that being said, I do hope and pray that this is edifying to the elect. I want to close this lesson by giving all praise, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who have taught us all this truth in the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. And until next time, Abba Babal, Kwam, Yesharala Gadol, Abadim, Lababal, Hagadol, Yahweh Mahar, Wahabathum. And until next time, I would like to say unto you all, Shalom. Shalom.